Welcome to Camnet TV Main News. I am Precious Mzea Sakaleji. Headlines. Police cage PF Media Chairperson RAPHAEL NAKACINDA based on a private citizen's report. PETAUKE district anticipating hunger due to bad farming season. President H warns lawbreakers as opposition GPZ describes the president's address lukewarm. In international news, President Uhuru leads Kenyans in paying tribute to KIBAKI. And in sports, Uganda beats 13 teams to win 2022 Africa Rugby 7S. Join me with the details after this commercial. In other main news in detail, police have apprehended RAPHAEL NAKACINDA, aged 43. Police Public Relations Officer Ray Hamonga says this is in connection to a matter where a complaint from Bruce Kanema against him on allegations that he promoted hate speech against the Tonga-speaking people and is further alleged to have defamed the Republican president in a video that has widely circulated. Meanwhile, earlier in the day, Mr. NAKACINDA, in an interview, his lawyer Makebi Zulu has alleged that police in the country are not acting independently, as evidenced by the trend of arrest of members from the former ruling party that the country has been witnessing.
Article 20 of the Constitution of Zambia guarantees freedom of expression and freedom of the press. Some stakeholders, however, are of the view that certain political officials have abused this provision and used it to launch personal attacks on individuals and not for its intended purpose, which is for the offering of constructive checks and balances. Recent statements by Patriotic Front PF member of the Central Committee in charge of publicity and information, Mr. RAPHAEL NAKACINDA, on social media have, however, sparked different emotions from stakeholders. Mr. NAKACINDA is alleged to have instituted tribal remarks on citizens from Southern Province, while also bringing the name of the head of state into disrepute. Police at Lusaka's Kawata police station on Monday picked up Mr. NAKACINDA on the said charges. His lawyer, Mr. Makebi Zulu, who was in the company of Patriotic Front members, among them Porokoso Member of Parliament Mr. Brian Mundubile, and former ambassador to Ethiopia Mr. Emmanuel Mamba, however, feel that statements made by Mr. NAKACINDA should not warrant arrest.
And what he said is different from what the president has said on his press briefing, to say that he said he would pick a foolish man as a Ubututu simply means a person who is ignorant. Yeah. And ignorance should be understood in the context that he used it, and not necessarily foolishness. We hope the police will be able to advise, say, this actually means something else.
Just this morning, when he was addressing the nation, he assured the Zambian people that prolonged detentions of suspects or accused persons is a thing of the past. He gave examples that if somebody was picked at 12, by 14 hours he'll be given bond. Somebody is picked at 14, by 16 he'll be given bond. Honorable NAKACINDA was picked at 05. I don't know what time this is. And this is what we keep saying. We keep saying that when you listen to the president and you look at the realities on the ground, one gets the impression that the president may be living in a different country altogether.
PF Acting Secretary General Mr. Nixon Chilangwa has voiced concerns about what he has termed as the continuous arrest of PF members.
They need to go out there and better the living standards of the people of Zambia. Not arresting NAKACINDA. Is arresting NAKACINDA any of us going to reduce the price of the cost of living? The answer is no. So for me, I want to appeal to the UPND to talk to their conscience. What is it that they want to do? What is it? Where do they want to take this country? So that is my message to my response. They must tell us where they want to take this country.
Police spokesperson Mr. Reha Monga has confirmed the apprehension.
Police have apprehended RAPHAEL NAKACINDA 843. This is in connection to a matter where we received a complaint from Bruce Kanema against him on allegation that he promoted hate speech against the Tonga-speaking people and is further alleged to have defamed the Republican president in a video that has been widely circulated. 2 dockets of case have since been opened.
Meanwhile, President Hakainde Hichilema has advised citizens to adhere to the law.
2 days ago, he says, 3 days ago, how foolish can the people of Wengwa bring their foolishness to State House? How foolish can Tongas and Zambians allow a Tonga to bring the Tonga stupidity to State House? Now, this country is not about Tongas, it's not about Bembas, it's not about Nyanjas, Ngonis, Chevas, it's not about Roses, Lubales. It's about the citizens of Zambia. That's what it is about. I'm Zambian first. Zambian born where? In Monze. Did I choose? No. Ask my mother. You saw her on film a few days ago. Ask her. Why did she give birth to this child in Monze? Ask her, not me. But this is what we're beginning to make our country to be.
Camnet News will follow the matter to its conclusion. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Former Konkola Copper Mine employees have called on President Hakainde Hichilema to authorize the release of their 50% pension scheme, which KCM Board of Trustees has been holding on to for the past 3 years. The former miners who marched to State House Monday morning seeking presidential audience have told Camnet News that the pension scheme they are demanding for has been closed by the mines without settling the 50% balance. The miners add that they were told by the Patriotic Front administration that they could not be paid their monies because it was being held by Hakainde Hichilema, and that once they win the elections, they will ensure that HH pays back their monies.
These are former Konkola Copper Mine employees who were retrenched in 2019 and 2020 but have not been paid 50% of their pension scheme by the mine. The ex-miners Monday morning marched to State House seeking Zambia's Republican President Hakainde Hichilema's audience on the matter, adding that this is not the first time they have attempted to meet the president. The miners have complained that KCM Board of Trustees has been the one holding on to the 50% of their pension and that the scheme has been closed without their dues being paid.
KCM Board of Trustees are holding on to their money for the past 3 years, and we have not been paid anything, and the scheme is closed. And to our surprise, that the scheme is closed and the money was transferred from KCM Board of Trustees to Sanlam without our concept. So we don't know who is getting the profit, who is getting the interest on behalf of those miners which they are holding the money for the past 3 years.
So bajaba KCM baishile twebo kwebati ishindalama tukamipela fe ba government nga bachita intervene nga tabachitile intervene tatwakamipele yo nga batwe bati lelo dine twala mipele ndalame bapele ni ndalama twala mipela so efe tuishile kuno ku State House tulefo kwebati batwafuirisheko ba government ba president nga babapela order.
The miners have added that they were told by the previous Patriotic Front administration that their monies was not being paid to them because it was being held by Hakainde Hichilema, and that they were only going to be paid their dues if they assume office and make HH pay for his mistakes.
All of them there corrupted. Effort to vote the president whatever pesho kwebati eba sungenda la mama shares while bukanchi balifunishemo muri satuna regina amashares yabo yabaile bangolo barabashara bapanga mafunja yabo ero bambo kubepesha ba president eba duma mafu.
We said, why are you getting 100% and us you failed to give us 100%. And this is our money. It's not your money. He said, no, the system is telling me to get 100%. And if someone dies, he's getting 100% given it to him. But we told them that, okay, we are going to die, so that you give our families our remaining 50%.
These miners who travelled all the way from the Copper Belt are hopeful that the president will look into their matter in the shortest possible time. Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Zambia's President Hakainde Hichilema has charged that no person in the country has the legal mandate to grant immunity to an accused person. The president, who addressed the media Monday morning, says he has never met with any person to grant them immunity because he has no capacity to do so. President Hichilema states that there is no need to throw so much energy on a non-issue and says the conduct of the Director of Public Prosecutions, Lilian Siyuni, to grant immunity to Milingolungu was done in her own capacity and that she will face the law for her actions. The president has since urged investigative bodies in the country to provide regular updates to the public on the progress being made on several investigations. And the president says he is very much aware of the high cost of living in the country and promises that the matter will be addressed once the debt situation is sorted out.
The United Party for National Development Administration, since ascending to office in August of 2021, has shown commitment to the fight against corruption. However, the revelations that State House is involved in the awarding of immunity to former Konkola copper mine liquidator Milingolungu came as a shock which saw a lot of stakeholders question if the fight against corruption is being won. Zambia's Republican President Hakainde Hichilema, who addressed the media Monday morning, says no person has any legal mandate to offer immunity to any person who has been implicated in corruption allegations.
No one, and I want to say it here, no one has the legal mandate to give immunity to anybody. No one. In case you haven't heard me, I can't do that. No one at State House can do that. No one at ACC can do that. No one at the DPP can give immunity to anyone. That's illegal.
The president adds that he is not involved in the granting of immunity to Milingolungu and that the Director of Public Prosecution, Lilian Siyuni, will have to face the law for breaking the law.
Why are we giving legs to an issue that is not an issue? I never met anybody in this State House in the name of Milingo to discuss immunity. If anyone offered Milingo an immunity, it's illegal. But if anyone did that, they are on their own. Did you hear me? They are on their own.
President Hichilema says there is need to increase toll line for people to report corruption and criminal activities and that whistleblowers should be protected. The president further says he is aware of the high cost of living and that he is working at ensuring that the cost of living is normalized, but that this can only be achieved if the debt situation in the country is tabled.
The cost of living issues, our hearts are there with you. But to have a long-lasting solution to the cost of living is to deal with the debt, is to deal with issues of fuel. Let me confront this issue. Issues of fuel cost, issues of fertilizer costs.
The president has since challenged those in opposition to stop peddling lies that his administration has failed when the economy was destroyed in the past 10 years.
What is saying they will return. What are you going to return to government to do? If I may be a bit cheeky, you created this debt mountain, you ran the economy down, which was growing at 6-7%, you ran it down to 5, to 4, to 3, to 0, to minus. Today you want to be smart and say the new Dawn government has failed. The new Dawn government is resolving the mess you left behind, the mess you created. You should say thank you to us.
President Hichilema has since announced that government will be launching a public-private dialogue forum for development as a way of working with the private sector in unlocking issues that are standing in the way of businesses.
We will be launching what we call the public-private dialogue forum for development as a way of working. The government and the private sector will be working as one in unlocking all those issues that are standing in the way of businesses, Zambian businesses, other businesses growing.
Prudence Chota, reporting for Camnet TV News.
Meanwhile, President Hakainde Hichilema has revealed plans to come up with an agricultural production center that will see the exportation of different crops to various countries. Speaking during a press briefing Monday, Republican President Hakainde Hichilema says the government will invest in the agricultural sector, which he hoped will boost Zambia's economy. The head of state says the irrigation sector must be strengthened so that issues of climate change do not disturb the growth of crops. The president adds that members of the public should be willing to learn different agricultural skills.
We are working to be the production center, wheat included. That's why I talked about irrigation. You heard me. I'm sure that's what drove your question. We don't want water rights for irrigation because we have the land, we have the climate, we have the soils, good soils, not just land, good soils. We have the water. We want to take advantage to feed, to produce wheat, to produce maize, to produce cotton, to produce agricultural trees. You will see in the work stream, again, Oliver, we are placing avocado there, we are placing agricultural trees as work streams in this PPDD program. So we can maximize benefits.
The opposition Gordon Party of Zambia President Jackson Silavwe has charged that the presidential address to the nation through press Monday lacked critical issues of national importance. Mr. Silavwe says the president lacked depth on most issues, adding that he seems to be living in an exaggerated self-bubble of his success record so far. Mr. Silavwe has since urged President Hichilema to have a serious reality check on most national issues affecting the people before addressing the nation.
As Gordon Party of Zambia, our initial reaction to the press conference held by the Republican President, President Hakainde Hichilema,
in other news, a Lusaka-based political analyst, Bizek Piri, has urged government officials within the ruling United Party for National Development UPND to take responsibility and implement President Hakainde Hichilema's call for a corrupt-free country. Professor Piri says the fight against corruption must be taken seriously by both those in opposition and those in power. And he adds that it is the responsibility of every citizen to ensure that the country attains a corrupt-free state. He was responding to the assurance given by the Republican president when he addressed the nation Monday that the UPND administration will not condone corruption. And Professor Piri told Camnet News, urging all political parties to avoid tribal politics as noted in recent past.
Since its coming into power about 8 months ago, the United Party for National Development, UPND, has embarked on the fight against corruption as part of the recovery process of national resources. This exercise has seen some officials being investigated as per mandate of the investigative wings. However, Monday, a Lusaka-based political analyst, Bizek Piri, has urged the ruling party, reminding them that the fight against corruption must be applied on everyone, including the serving government officials. Professor Piri, in an interview with Camnet News, has emphasized the need by current serving officials to serve within the law in accordance with the assurance that the Republican President Hakainde Hichilema has given to the nation.
Just stealing, that itself is a crime. And people, if you are found to have crime, to have committed a crime, the law takes its course. Now, what we are seeing today is a situation where maybe the new Don government, the UPND government, is trying to punish people because they were in the power before. I don't think that they should be interpreted that way. You have to be accountable. Now, when the government is expecting people to be accountable, it's not that they are being punitive. They are not being, political to punish people that were in power before them. They are just trying to correct the situation. But in doing that, those that are in power today in the European government should not make the same mistakes that the previous people who were in government made. Because if they do, we are going to go on the same process.
Professor Piri has also cautioned all political parties to desist from practicing tribal politics, as it has the potential to divide the nation.
People became acclimatized and working together. Today, 2022, we are very united. So it becomes something unacceptable, if I may put it that way, to be talking about tribal politics in Zambia. Because the groundwork was already done to unite Zambia, one nation, is something that is practical.
Alex Shimba, Camnet News, in Lusaka.
PETAUKE Central Member of Parliament Emmanuel Banda says PETAUKE district will need relief food owing to a poor harvest record during the 2021-2022 farming season to avert the looming hunger. Mr. Banda says he has already notified the Disaster Management and Mitigation Unit on the matter. The lawmaker has attributed the poor harvest in the area to climate change following unpredictable weather patterns and the late distribution of farming inputs under the Farmers Import Support Program FISP. He has therefore appealed to the Ministry of Agriculture to ensure early distribution of inputs for the 2022-2023 farming season.
Not going to have bumper harvest. The reasons are simple. One, we have got two major reasons. One, it's because of climate change, whereby the rains they always start in November, December. That's when we usually plant our crops in PETAUKE. But for 2021-2022 season, the rains came in 2022. So we didn't even call it 2021-2022 season. It's just 2022 season to us. So for the way it is, and also fertilizer, the suppliers to government, government paid them, but them they delaying in supplying. They were supplying fertilizer in March, which also affected more the farmers. So we are asking also the New Dawn government that they should also this time around let them work on the suppliers, so that the suppliers they should start even now. I'm sure you saw when Michael Chirufyasata, the former president, may so rest in peace, you saw. He used to start, because I'm a transporter, we used to start transporting fertilizer for the next season in March.
Save the Children Zambia Monday organized a discussion on public investment in children and how children can benefit from the Constituency Development Fund. Various stakeholders championing the cause of children were part of the discussion, among them a Tasia Member of Parliament, Twambom Tinta Mbalala lawmaker Joseph Msanje, and civil society organizations. Child advocate Mundia Luvinda says the plight of children not improving at the pace it should because children are not given the space as they should. And it is Stage Member of Parliament Twambom Tinta noted that the information gap in his constituency has hindered some children from accessing their fair share of public resources, adding that more needs to be done to ensure that both the elderly and children are informed.
Access to education and health facilities is a basic human right that government has to provide by any means. However, this has not been the case, as most successful administrations have failed to fulfill this. However, hopes have been raised of access to education by the introduction of free education by the UPND administration in 2022. But how free is this free education being provided? Should people ignore Sustainable Development Goal number 4 on quality education because there's free education? Your guess is as good as mine. While this development is welcome, the truth still remains that some areas, especially rural areas, have poor access to health and education facilities. In this, children suffer the most consequences of such inadequacies countrywide. With the Constituency Development Fund being increased from 1.6 to 25.7 million kwacha in 2022, expectations have been high on how various sectors can benefit from this amount through community interventions. Speaking during a discussion organized by Save the Children and its cooperating partners Monday, a child advocate, Mundia Lubinda, has called on government to ensure that schools and health facilities are made available as one of the ways in which children can benefit from the Constituency Development Fund.
We as children need to be educated in order for us to be responsible and educated leaders. So I stand in opposition for these funds to be allocated to the education sector in order for every child out there to be educated and also for their needs. Because we have children that come from very poor backgrounds or poor homes where the parents can't afford to buy for them books, as we have free education, some children can't afford to have uniforms, books and school materials.
And lawmakers at the discussion also shared their view on how best children can benefit from CDF. Mabala lawmaker Joseph Monsanje was present at the event.
We check with the CDF guidelines, indeed in terms of composition and the presentation, in terms of management and execution, we do have a gap in there in that children are not in the leadership position. However, when we come to services, I think that is where we have a high stake for children. In that most of the projects that have been earmarked or allowed for execution actually focus on child services.
Meanwhile, Justice Center for Theological Reflection also added their voice, hoping for better as government continues to roll out the resources to respective constituencies.
The project that we've been implementing focusing on driving sustainable change for children's rights, which has given us a good opportunity to interact with local schools in that area. The concerns that were raised by the Member of Parliament with regard to inadequate infrastructure such as boarding facilities is very true. One of the things that you find is that beyond inadequate facilities such as boarding facilities, especially for girls that are in weekly boarding.
Meanwhile, Save the Children Acting Country Director Chimara Chitama says it is the hope of Save the Children to see child-responsive initiatives.
Working in the sector to come to the fore and continue and ensure that together with children raise the voice and call for their share in the spending and allocation of CDF.
Sharon Kalimbula, Camnet News, Lusaka.
You're watching Camnet TV Main News. We take our first set of commercials. We'll be back with more after this.
Savenda. Save nations, develop Africa. Connecting African countries to each other and connecting the African continent to the world. This logistics and global supply chain management group offers end-to-end solutions across all sectors of the economy. Agriculture, energy, telecommunications, finance, construction, transportation, and insurance. And now, its initiatives are greener than ever, operating in line with government guidelines and working to provide energy security for Zambia and beyond. 25 companies united under one group and one vision. Savenda. Trade and logistics made easy.
Your skin is the biggest muscle in your body. That's why we make sure that Oracle is #1 when it comes to taking care of your precious skin. Oracle Pure Petroleum Jelly and Glycerin soothes, moisturizes and keeps your skin perfect. Oracle Pure Petroleum products for that perfect skin.
Thank you for staying with us. We continue with the rest of the main news. Former Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry, Bob Sechinga, has underscored the need for Zambia to diversify its agricultural export portfolio in order to benefit from the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. Mr. Sechinga notes that the trade among East African countries has been low but hopeful based on the projection the agreement creates a single African market of over 1 billion consumers with a total GDP of over 3 trillion United States dollar, hence the need for Zambia to position itself well. The former cabinet minister tells Camnet News that the country needs to look beyond maize and steer irrigation farming. The operational phase of the AFC-FTA was launched during the 12th extraordinary session of the Assembly of the Union of the AFC-FTA in Niamey, Niger on the 7th of July 2019, while trading activities under the AFC-FTA agreement began on 1st January 2021. However, no trade has yet taken place under the AFC-FTA regime.
It needs to be supportive. In other words, you should justify the cost of producing that type of commodity. So yes, there is need for us to diversify. The market, I'm talking about the market of Zambia with its neighbors, SADC, for example, COMESA, for example. Now we've got the African Continental Free Trade Area. In other words, the whole of Africa. Africa trades with itself only 11.2%. Okay, 11.2% is what we trade with one another. Yet, you've got, like for us as Zambia, there's a shortage of food on the eastern part of Angola, Moxico province, for instance, that requires food. But the problem is road. From Jimbe into Angola, very, very difficult. So you need to also look at the interconnectivity. Yes, you can diversify. Yes, you can increase the production of other commodities that are needed in those areas. But will you get them to those markets? For example, we have also got to the northern part of Botswana, which is much nearer to Zambia and cheaper to transport from here into northern part of Kasane and so on and so forth. Those areas, it will be cheaper for them to get their material and their produce from Zambia.
In other news, the Zambia Public Procurement Authority, ZPPA, says the authority received a total of 11 concerns of alleged irregularities arising from various procurements in the first quarter of 2022. Speaking during the first quarter press briefing on the procurement, ZPPA Director General Ms. Ida Chela says the authority is currently actively investigating 3 of these as 8 were concluded. She explains that the key among the concerns surrounding the procurements were the submission of forged document from the Patents and Companies Registration Agency, PACRA.
Procurement of public goods and services has been a concern in Zambia, as reports such as the Auditor General and the Financial Intelligence Center (FIC) have been indicating that the country has been losing millions of kwacha through illegal procurement procedures. While some stakeholders have been calling for an overhaul at the Zambia Public Procurement Authority (ZPPA), the authority has been insisting that it is up to task in bringing sanity to the procurement sector. Speaking during the 2022 first quarter media briefing on the procurement sector in Zambia, ZPPA Director General Ms. Ida Chela says in this vein, the authority is currently investigating a number of 40 procurements as reported by concerned parties. She adds that the authority is also reviewing a number of appeals. Ms. Chela says one of the companies had a false certificate from the Patents and Companies Registration Agency PACRA, adding that the authority has also suspended the company known as Magnet Insurance Brokers Limited for 1 year due to underperformance. She has therefore assured members of the public that the authority is working around the clock to ensure that the law is followed in public procurement.
It is our desire as ZPPA to have all public institutions adhere to the Public Procurement Act as well as its attendant regulations, and ensure that all procurements are conducted within the guiding principles, which include procuring of goods, works and services at the right price, right quantity, and right quality, as well as delivery on time. As a regulator of public procurement, we will ensure that these principles are adhered to, and we urge all the PEs out there to ensure that they adhere to what the Act says.
The ZPPA Director General asked that the authority is making progress in going digital to enhance accountability.
May I also take this opportunity to remind you that ZPPA is implementing the electronic government procurement system, which is now mandatory for all PEs to use in procurement of goods, works and services. And all PEs must familiarize themselves with the EGP system. The EGP does have a window, but it's only for people who are not yet trained at the time that it has come in force, and that is why we are actually advancing in trying to bring everybody, to train everybody so that everybody is using the EGP system. As you know, this enhances transparency and accountability because everything is done and everybody can see it.
The authority further says it is making overall assessments of the sector to make sure that the law is followed to the letter in all angles. Zipporah Mshala, Camnet News, Lusaka.
Zambia had recorded over 6.3 million cases of malaria in 2021 and 1,480 deaths, with most cases being recorded in rural areas. Officiating at the 2022 World Malaria Day commemoration in Kalimbila District in Northwestern Province, Minister in charge of Health, Sylvia Masebo, says the country has seen a reduction in new malaria cases from 428 per 1,000 population in 2020 to 340 per 1,000 population in 2021. Ms. Masebo notes that the government remains committed to providing quality health services to its people.
One of the most frustrating things about malaria is the preventable suffering it poses on families. The death of a child or a parent, the loss of work or economic stability can be devastating. The Ministry of Health of the Republic of Zambia, in collaboration with partners, developed the National Malaria Elimination Strategy Plan for 2017 to 2021, which is intended to serve as a framework for a coordinated and collaborative approach to malaria elimination in Zambia. Minister in charge of Health, Sylvia Masebo, has disclosed that Zambia has seen a reduction in new cases of malaria from 428 per 1,000 population in 2020 to 340 per 1,000 population in 2021.
Gentlemen, Your Royal Highnesses, our country Zambia recorded over 6.3 million cases of malaria in 2021, while 1,480 malaria deaths were recorded in the same year. The new malaria cases reduced from 428 per 1,000 population in 2020 to 340 per 1,000 in 2021. This was largely due to the investment made in preventive and curative interventions. This represents an overall reduction of 18% in malaria cases across the country. In addition, malaria in pregnancy decreased by 21%. Under five cases also declined by 21%.
Ms. Masebo says the government is committed to the elimination of malaria.
The government of the Republic of Zambia is committed to provide quality health services and implementation of evidence-based malaria interventions as close to the family as possible. This is in line with the decentralization policy, which promotes devolving most of the functions of health to the sub-national level for improved service delivery. As we advance equity, we will prioritize access to services in the hard-to-reach and rural communities mostly affected by malaria.
National Malaria Elimination Strategic Plan is also meant to serve as a basis for development of detailed and cost plans of action at the national level adapted to provincial level, district and local realities, and the response to specific needs of each location in Zambia. The minister was speaking at the 2022 World Commemoration of Malaria Day. Blessings Chakwila, Camnet News.
Government has challenged the University of Zambia to expand undergraduate and postgraduate enrollments only in areas of great national needs. Speaking during the 51st UNZA graduation ceremony at Lusaka's Hero Stadium Monday, Minister of Education Douglas Siakalima says that it is not time for a large new program which do not address the skill requirements and labor market demands of our employers. Meanwhile, giving his 51st graduation address, University Vice-Chancellor Professor LUKEWARM has urged the graduates to go out and actively contribute to national development agenda. Meanwhile, 4,053 graduates will be graduating from the university this year, with about 20 PhD graduates, a total of 586 master's degrees level graduates, and 3,038 degree level graduates.
Walk of victory for hundreds of graduates at the University of Zambia Monday as the university celebrates its 51st graduation ceremony at Lusaka Zero Stadium. This year's graduation is dubbed Academic Excellence, that celebrates resilience in the era of the pandemic, a theme that the University Vice-Chancellor Professor LUKEWARM says it is a reminder to the university community to focus on achieving its set 2018 to 2022 strategic plan of financial freedom. He highlights this during his 51st graduation address.
Prime Minister, the theme for this year's graduation ceremony is a reminder of the university community to the English community that we need to focus on achievement of what we are set to do in the strategic plan 2018 to 2022 and the subsequent strategic plan 2023 to 2027. One intervention or innovation of the rest is to achieve excellence in the implementation of a performance management system, or simply put, a performance appraisal system. In other words, we have introduced this system. The University of Zambia has contributed to socio-economic development by changing the lives of families and communities from which it draws students. In this process, the government loans scheme has played a big role in addressing the challenge of affordability of university education by our students.
Professor Momba since urged the graduates to be of good use to the national development.
Let the degree you have gained inspire you even more to aspire for better education. And should you think of doing a master's or PhD, the University of Zambia, your university, your alma mater, will be glad to welcome you all. As you go out there, I wish to urge you to be good ambassadors of the University of Zambia. I have no doubt.
Meanwhile, Minister of Education Douglas Siakalima, who is also guest of honor, has challenged the university to remain a great public university underpinned by research and strong governance arrangements. Meanwhile, 4,053 graduates will be graduating from the university this year, with about 20 PhD graduates, a total of 586 master degree level graduates, and 3,038 degree level graduates. Alex Shimba, Camnet News, in Lusaka.
International and sports news coming through right after this break.
We welcome you to the wonderful world of Savenda Electronics.
At Savenda Electronics, we pride ourselves in manufacturing high-quality electricity and water meters.
Boasting of the first of its kind state-of-the-art manufacturing plant in Zambia, Savenda Electronics manufactures customized smart electricity and water meters of international standards for both the local and international water and electricity utility companies. Our highly computerized factory, run by qualified staff, makes, calibrates, and electronically tests the smart meters to ensure only those meeting customer specifications are delivered to the market. Some of the main features which come with our meters includes notifications about low units, tempering, low battery, and many more customized features. Savenda Electronics provides on and off-site after-sales service and has favorable contract terms for water and electricity utility companies. Savenda Electronics, the real deal.
team, the trajectory of the business looks very positive, and it looks like we'll be able to launch the...
She has so much data.
Mom?
Yes, baby?
It says here, global warming and climate change is caused by the pollution from careless activities of human beings.
Wow!
Son, do you know I can turn my phone into a TV remote?
How's that possible?
It's so easy. Check this out.
Be smart, be fast with mega data from Zamtel. Get your 15 GB mobile data for only 100 kwacha, 30 GB mobile data for only 200 kwacha, and your 70 GB LTE data bundle with free Netflix, YouTube, Facebook, and WhatsApp. Visit our Facebook page, website, or service centers countrywide for more information. Zamtel, your digital lifestyle partner.
You can now watch Camnet TV wherever you are around the world, simply by downloading the Camnet TV app. With Camnet TV app, you only use less bundles. Camnet TV, not just another channel.
We now get into international news. As Kenyans and the rest of the world continue to pay tribute to the late former president of Kenya, Mwai Kibaki, his remains were taken from Lee Funeral Home by military motorcade to the Parliament building on Monday. Kibaki's body was received by President Uhuru Kenyatta and First Lady Margaret Kenyatta, who are leading the nation in mourning the late president. Although his rule was marred by rampant government corruption and lavish spending on flagship projects that contributed to a debt mountain, Kibaki will be remembered for leaving a legacy of strong growth and the regional economic powerhouse, launching major infrastructure projects and boosting the struggling health and education sectors. Kibaki, who kept a low profile since leaving office, his health had fluctuated since a serious car accident in 2002 and had been in and out of the hospital. Final rites from President Kibaki will be held on Saturday, April 30th, with a memorial service at Othaya Stadium, and he will be buried on his Othaya home next to his late wife, Mama Lucy Kibaki. Here's a roundup of international news.
At least 168 people have been killed in clashes between rival groups in the Darfur region of Sudan. The UN has condemned the violence in the Krink region of West Darfur and called for an investigation. The latest fighting began on Friday. During the violence, homes were set on fire, hospitals attacked and goods looted. Almost 100 more people have been wounded. Non-governmental organisations said an individual dispute sparked the fighting between Arab nomads and members of the Masalit minority in Krink. There have been some reports that the Sudanese authorities deployed a notorious militia called the Rapid Support Forces, which was formerly known as the Janjaweed. The International Committee of the Red Cross has called for the injured and sick to be allowed to seek help. Darfur, which was ravaged by civil war that erupted in 2003, has seen a spike in deadly conflict since October last year, triggered by disputes mainly over land, livestock and access to water and grazing.
As Kenyans and the rest of the world continue to pay tribute to the late former president of Kenya, Mwai Kibaki, his remains were taken from Lee Funeral Home by a military motorcade to the Parliament building on Monday. Kibaki's body was received by President Uhuru Kenyatta and First Lady Margaret Kenyatta, who are leading the nation in mourning the late president. Although his rule was marred by rampant government corruption and lavish spending on flagship projects that contributed to a debt mountain, Kibaki will be remembered for leaving a legacy of strong growth in the regional economic powerhouse, launching major infrastructure projects and boosting the struggling health and education sectors. Kibaki, who kept a low profile since leaving office, his health had fluctuated since a serious car accident in 2002, and he had been in and out of hospital. Final rites for President Kibaki will be held on Saturday, April 30th, with a memorial service at Othaya Stadium, and he will be buried at his Othaya home next to his late wife, Mamalusi Kibaki.
Congratulatory messages are pouring for French President Emmanuel Macron, who secured re-election on Sunday after a fiercely contested poll against far-right veteran Marine Le Pen. On Monday, the African Union, AU, described Macron's win as brilliant. Chairperson Musa Faki Mahama, in a tweet, called for the continued establishment of mutually beneficial relations between France and Africa. I am happy to continue our commitment with him to build renewed and mutually beneficial relations between Africa and France, and more broadly Europe, Mahama's tweet read. But not everyone is happy about the French president's re-election. For most people in the French overseas regions, this was a disappointment. Today I voted for Marine Le Pen and I am fed up. I am fed up with seeing what has happened. The French have no memory. It's time we woke up today, because our children don't need to be muscled. We don't need to be unable to discuss, speak and communicate. I'm very disappointed. In overseas France, we voted for Marine Le Pen. All overseas France without exception, so Macron, you're not welcome. The purchasing power has decreased. We have no answer on that. So it's normal that the population reacts. And I sincerely say that the result of the overseas vote, in any case, did not surprise me at all. Celebration is the order of the day for now, but Macron in the next 5 years faces the task of reuniting his country politically and strengthening relations with Africa, amongst others.
We'll now get into sports news. Everton will contact the Professional Game Match Officials Limited (PGMOL) to query why a challenge they feel should have led to a penalty was not reviewed further in the Merseyside derby. With the game goalless, forward Anthony Gordon went over in the area following a challenge by Liverpool's Joel Matip. 8 minutes after the incident, Andy Robertson scored Liverpool's opener, with Divock Origi sealing the 2-0 win. The defeat left Everton in the relegation zone with 6 games to go. Frank Lampard's side are 2 points below Burnley, who occupy the final position of safety, though the Toffees have a game in hand. Lampard suggested post-match that a penalty would have been given if the challenge had been made on Liverpool's player. It was a tense morning as teams looked to qualify for the finals at the Africa's Rugby Sevens in Kampala. Holders Kenya were pushed out by Uganda playing on a soaked turf in a game that ended 22-12. The Rugby Cranes remained composed and improved game after game at the home ground, beating Zimbabwe 26-0 to win the title.
Tense morning as teams looked to qualify for the finals of the Africa Rugby Sevens in Kampala. Holders Kenya were pushed out by Uganda playing on a soaked turf in a game that ended 22-12. The Rugby Cranes remained composed and improved game after game at the home ground, beating Zimbabwe 26-0 to win the title.
We've had 3 months of training, hard training for this tournament, and I think today we've come out and showed that the hard work has paid off, and I'm very excited about the boys.
Yes, bad result. I mean, we could have done better, but well done from day one up to now. We put up a good fight.
The Rugby 15's World Cup qualifiers will be held in France, even as Kampala once again exhibits the continent's capability of hosting the international event. Rugby Africa maintains the neutrality of the hosting country and guaranteed attraction of more fans.
We've seen the vibe, we've seen the energy, we've seen the atmosphere. Fans have been ecstatic since yesterday. Many of them turned up this morning to cheer up their teams despite the heavy downpour for these games that are crucial. They are the precursor to two important games, the World Cup in South Africa and the Commonwealth Games in June. Now with me is the Vice President of Rugby Africa, Andrew Owor. Tell us what you think about the level of rugby being played today, since two teams here will be heading to the Commonwealth Games.
I think the level compared to years back has really pushed up. The teams have worked hard. Every team has actually put a lot of effort, but it was nice to see Uganda, Kenya, Zimbabwe, Zambia really push themselves higher and make it was a very good presentation of rugby.
Like Zimbabwe and Kenya, Uganda has tough seasons ahead to prepare for tournaments. They've barely months to get in shape to match the likes of Fiji, Great Britain, Samoa and New Zealand.
We're just going to go back to the drawing board and train as hard as we can, because the scenes we are going to are the world scenes. World Cup, Commonwealth, those are big scenes. We're playing with the best teams in the world, and definitely we have to go and match up.
Police KHPF Media Chairperson RAPHAEL NAKACINDA based on a private citizen's report. PETAUKE district anticipating hunger due to band farming season. President HH warns lawbreakers as opposition GPZ describes the president's address. In international news, President Uhuru leads Kenyans in paying tribute to KIBAKI. And in sports, Uganda beats 13 teams to win 2022 Africa Rugby 7S. Those were the headlines, but before we go, our Camnet verse of the day is coming from the book of John 14 verse 16, and it reads, Jesus told him, I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. Thank you for watching. I am Precious Nzea Sakaleji. Pleasant viewing.